You can usually tell when someone loves cats, not because they say it out loud, but because of how they move through the world. They don't rush you. They don't force attention. They seem oddly okay with silence. Play is not something that needs to be filled. Maybe you notice this person. They are the one who doesn't panic when plans change. The one who's comfortable sitting alone in the cafe, scrolling slowly, watching people instead of performing for them. The one who understands that affection doesn't always look loud. And if you have ever loved a cat, really loved one, you know this already. Cats don't love you because you demand it. They love you because you earn it. So when someone chooses cats, not just as pets, but as companions, it quietly says something about how they relate to trust, boundaries, and connection. This isn't about liking animals. This is about how a person understands closeness, and there is a psychology behind that. People who love cats tend to understand something early in life that others take much longer to learn. Connection cannot be forged. A cat doesn't respond to intensity. The louder you try, the further they pull away. Affection in a cat world is an invitation, not a transaction. And people who genuinely love cats don't find this frustrating. They find it familiar. Psychologically, this often points to a comfort with autonomy, both their own and others. It's like people who don't equate love with control. They don't need constant reassurance to feel secure. They okay living without gripping. Think about how a cat shows closeness. It comes near then pulls back. It watches first. It decides. Cat lovers tend to respect that rhythm instinctively. They don't take distance personally. They don't panic when someone needs space. Instead of asking, why are you pulling away? They think you will come back when you are ready. That mindset doesn't come from nowhere. Many cat lovers grew up learning to read subtle emotional cues, a slight shift in energy, a change in tone, the difference between wanting company and needing solitude. Cats communicate almost entirely through nuance, so do emotionally complex humans. This is why people who love cats are often deeply observant. They notice what's not being said. They sense discomfort before it becomes obvious. They understand that silence isn't rejection. Sometimes it's regulation. From a psychological standpoint, this aligns with high emotional attunement, not hypersensitivity, but calibration. The ability to adjust yourself without demanding others adjust for you. Cat lovers are often mislabeled as distant, aloof, or introverted, but that misses the point. They aren't disconnected, they are selective. They don't give access to everyone, and they don't expect access from everyone either. To them, closeness is something that unfolds, not something that's owed. This shows up strongly in relationships. People who love cats tend to value consensual intimacy, not just physical consent, but emotional consent. They ask, sometimes silently, are you open right now? And if the answer is no, they don't punish you for it. This is why they often make safe partners and safe friends, not because they're always available, but because they respect limits. Interestingly, research in personality psychology has found correlation between cat preference and traits like openness, independence, and nonconformity. Cat lovers are less likely to rely on external validation to define themselves. They don't need approval to feel okay. That doesn't mean they don't care. It means they don't perform. They're comfortable being misunderstood for a while. They trust that the right people will eventually see them, the way a cat eventually decides you're worth calling up next to. Another pattern shows up in how cat lovers deal with control. Pets are uncontrollable. You can't train them the way you train dogs. You can't micromanage their affection. The people who love cats tend to develop a different relationship with power. They're influencing rather than dominate. They create environments that feel safe rather than demanding obedience. It often translates into leadership styles that are quiet but effective. They don't need to be the loudest voice in the room. They are the ones others listen to when things get chaotic. Because they don't escalate stress, they absorb it. Cat lovers also tend to be more comfortable with complexity. A cat can love you deeply and still swipe at you if you cross a boundary. It can want closeness and solitude in the same hours. People who love cats understand that contradiction isn't dishonestly, it is humanity. So they're less likely to demand emotional consistency from others. They don't say, but yesterday you feel different. They understand that emotional fluctuation. This makes them patient partners, thoughtful listeners, and surprisingly resilient people. But there's another lady here that doesn't get talked too much. Many cat lovers had a history of needing to self-soothe. Cats are regulating creatures. Their purring, their routines, their quiet presence are a bit helps calm the nervous system psychologically. People who bond strongly with cats often find comfort in predictable freedom and loud stimulation connection, not because they're fragile, but because they have learned the value of nervous system safety. For some, cats provide companionship when humans feel unpredictable. For others, cats model a form of love that didn't overwhelm. It doesn't mean cat lovers avoid people. It means they chew deep over volume. They rather have one real connection than 10 shallow ones. One quiet evening than a crowded room. One relationship that respects space than many that demand performance. And contrary to stereotypes, cat loves aren't emotionally close up. They just don't lead everywhere. They process internally. They feel deeply but privately. They don't traumatize pain. They metabolize it. That's why many cat lovers are creative thinkers, writers, artists, and problem solvers. They're comfortable sitting with ambiguity. They don't rush to resolve tension. They let things unfold. And perhaps the most important psychological trait of all, cat lovers understand that love is not obedient. Love is choice, renewed daily. A cat trusts you every time it jumps onto your lap, not because it has to, because it wants to. People who love cats carry that lesson into how they love others. They don't chase, they don't trap, they invite. And if you leave, they don't beg, but they will leave the door open. There's something quietly powerful about the psychology of people who love cats. They don't need constant noise to feel alive. They don't confuse intensity with intimacy. They understand that the deepest connections often speak in whisper. They are people who know how to stick with you without fixing you, who can be close without consuming, who love without tightening their grip. They've learned, sometimes early, sometimes the hard way, that trust grows back in spaciousness. The safety isn't built through pressure, but through patience. And maybe that's why cat lovers often feel calming to be around, not because they are passive, but because they are grounded. They've learned to coexist with another being who refuses to be honored and still love anyway. So if this resonates, maybe it's not about cat at all. Maybe it's about the part of you that values quiet deep over loud certainty. The part that knows connection doesn't need to be proven to be real. If this reflection feels familiar, take a moment with it. And if you want more deep dives like this into human psychology, consider subscribing or join the channel. Sometimes understanding yourself starts with noticing what you love and why.